Last weekend, Lisa and Amelia and I went to Reno. So Amelia was swimming in the Special Olympics. And we pull into the campus of UNR, never been there before, and Lisa had never been there before. And so we're in this process of trying to find the place. And once we find the parking place, we're going to go into the swimming area and find the stands where we're going to watch, the Olympics and watch where Amelia is going to be swimming. My wife, Lisa, is experiencing this experience completely different in the way that I am experiencing this experience. I'm trying to figure out where everything's at. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to be doing. I'm trying to figure out where everything is located. And my wife is talking. And she's asking questions. Like, where is it? What about this? And she's asking all these questions as if I have been there before. I had never been there before. I don't know where anything is. So we do the same thing when we start watching a movie. She starts asking me all these questions about the movie. It's like, I'm 5 minutes in, just like you. I don't know, okay? We get into the place that we're going to have, where the swimming is, and it's indoors, and the moment I get in the building, I am trying to figure out how to get out of the building. Not if there's a fire. No, I'm just saying, I don't want to stay in this building with all of these people. Okay? So I know how these swim meets work. So I say, Lisa, I'm going to go. A lot of green grass out. Beautiful, beautiful day. Trees. I'm going to be outside. When Amelia gets ready to swim, you text me. And I'm going to come in and we're going to cheer Amelia. And then when it's over, I'm going to go back outside. And we'll be married 30 years this August. She expected that. She knew how that was going to work. So that's how we spent the day. I spent almost all my time outside. She spent all of her time inside, talking to people, cheering for people she didn't even know. But this is what she's doing. And she sees all of these people and everything is just great. And this is how it works. Now, it never crossed my wife's mind to go outside and sit under a tree for a little alone time. Didn't cross her mind. It never crossed my mind to stay in that building the whole time. It never crossed my mind. Because we're different people. And you're different. And you don't need me to tell you that we're different. We are different, but yet we're similar. We have a lot of things that we're similar in. And some of you are hearing this story and you go, well, I'm with Marty. That's exactly what I do. Some of you are going, well, I'm with Lisa. That's exactly what I would do. And there's some of you sitting going, I would do neither one of those things. And so we are different. Now, you probably are familiar with personality tests. You maybe have even taken them at work. I remember when I started seminary, the first thing I had to do in seminary is take an entrance exam or whatever that thing was called. And part of it was a personality test. And I remember going in after I had taken all of that, and I sat down in Dr. Minton's office. And Dr. Minton at that time, he was literally in his 80s. And he was bent over at the table. And I came in, and he says, "You're Mr. Williams?" I says, "Yes." So he reached over and grabbed a folder. He put the folder on the table. He opened up the folder, did some things like this, closed the folder. He leaned back. When he leaned back, his feet came off the ground because he was so bent over. He was kind of like that. And he starts to tell me everything about my life. He told me what I liked, what I didn't like. He told me what kind of ministry that I was going to probably do and what wouldn't work and what would work. I was blown away. I was like, I've never met you, yet you are literally reading me like a book. Now, I've learned since then that our personalities are real. And they can be complicated. Some of us have taken the DISC. We've taken all kinds of things that are out there. And I have always been drawn to this. I put a lot of weight into how we're put together. Because I believe that God put us together for a certain reason and certain ways. But I'm also simple. And so I have a hard time with big words. So I need colors. And so the tool that I'm going to give today is based on colors. And you don't have to remember any big words. You don't have to do any of those kind of things. But you do have to remember some colors. And it has been incredibly impactful for me over the past 3 or 4 months. It's been impactful on our church staff and how we communicate to each other. The tool that I'm going to use and introduce you to this morning, and I'm just going to say up front, I'm going to try to get done around 10:30. I'm going to talk really fast, get out of breath a little bit because I got a lot of stuff I want to cover. You have to do the homework. You just have to do the homework, okay? If you don't do the homework, then this morning is not going to be nearly as good as it needs to be. What I really like about what we're going to do this morning is this, is that it is based off of a verse from the book of Ephesians chapter 4, and it's based on how we talk to each other, and that we have to learn how to speak to each other. Because you have a certain language that you need to hear. Now, if someone were to come up on the stage this morning and start speaking to us in Russian or Chinese, and if you are like me and you don't know Russian or Chinese, you wouldn't know what they were saying. You would be down to facial expressions, tone, volume, those kinds of things, because the words coming out of their mouth just doesn't compute, doesn't make any sense to what they're trying to say. We can do the same thing with English, from English to English, or Chinese to Chinese, or Russian to Russian, because there's so many different ways, so many things that come into play in how we speak to one another. So before we get into it, I want to say just a couple of things. First thing I want to address, I don't think this is a big deal for our particular congregation, but I just want to say it because I don't like getting emails. And by the way, if you're going to send me a letter and you won't put your name on it, don't do that. Don't do that. If you can't put your address on it and you can't put your name on it, you don't need to say it. So I know I'm not talking to everybody. I'm probably talking one, maybe not even talking to that one person in here. Don't do that. Don't ever do that to anybody. Is there a verse in the Bible that I can go to? Can I say, turn to Isaiah chapter 16 and look, verses 4 through 8 tell us that there are 4 temperaments and 16 personality types. No, can't do that. I also can't go to the Bible and show you the verse where you should use a car. But you all drove one to church this morning, okay? I can't go in the Bible and show you a verse on how you should watch movies, but we all watch movies. Or how you should go get your appendix out if it's infected, but we would all go get our appendix out if it was infected. And aren't you glad that God gave somebody the ability to figure out how air conditioning works? I'm really excited about that. That he gave somebody the ability. So there's things that we have to, look at and try to figure out. So no, it's not there, but the Bible does speak to it, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Some people don't like personality tests and personality type things because they'll say this, well, I don't want anybody putting me in a box. And that's okay. I'm just here to tell you this morning, you're in a box. And God put you in that box. Okay? So you're just going to have to get over that one. And then, like I said, you got to do the follow through, and that'll make some more sense as we go through. So let's talk about communication a little bit. Got a lot of slides this morning. I'm going to put some stuff up. Here's a little hint. If you take a picture, if you got your phone, you take a picture of the slide. It's a whole lot easier than trying to write it all down. But also, if you'll follow through, you really won't need to take a lot of notes because you'll have those resources for you. First slide is this. Communication is not just about what's said. Okay, communication is not just about what is said, and a lot of times that's what we think communication is. If I said it, and so therefore you must receive it. No, There's more to it than that. It's also about what's heard. What you hear is just as important as what I say. So how I communicate, and if I'm going to communicate to you, I've got to learn how to communicate to you in a way that you will hear it. And that's just so important for us to understand that. So here's the verse. The verse in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29 says this. It says, let no evil talk come out of your mouths. Let no evil talk come out of your mouths. Now, some translations will say, instead of evil, the word unwholesome, or don't use foul or abusive language. Now, a lot of us were taught, if we were growing up in church, we would go to a verse like this, and this is a verse people would use to say, hey, listen, you shouldn't say dirty words. Here's the reason why you shouldn't use these 4-letter words, and here's why you shouldn't. And that's definitely a part of this, but that's not the heart of what is here in this verse. Let's look what the rest of it says. Let no evil talk come out of your mouths, but only what is used for building up as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear. Now, that's a strong verse. To realize that the words that I'm using, the things that I'm saying, carry an enormous amount of weight. And that when I speak, I need to only use the words that are for building up and the words that are going to give grace. So when you look at a verse like Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29, the Apostle Paul here has given us the what. But what is he not giving us? How? How do I do this? How do I speak in a way that builds you up? How do I speak in a way that gives you grace? How do I do that? Well, then I've got to know who I'm speaking with. They'll tell anybody who is a communicator that's going to stand up in front of a room with a microphone and say, you must know your audience. You got to know your audience, okay? That is true every time you try to communicate to another human being. Every time you try to communicate to another human being, you must know your audience. You must know how they're going to receive it. And there is a certain way to speak to certain people. Have you ever found that something can be said and people take it differently? Yes, of course. So we must learn to communicate in their language if we're going to lead others well. We must learn to communicate in their language if we're going to lead others well. We must learn to communicate in their language if we're going to love others well. So if I'm going to lead and love others, then I have got to figure out how to communicate it in a language that people can use. So this is incredibly important at home. This is incredibly important at work. Because when you can learn how to communicate to your boss in a language in which he or she hears, guess what just happened at work? What happened at work when that happens? It just got better. It just got a lot better. Okay? When if you're a boss and you're trying to communicate to people to get stuff done, and you learn how to communicate to them in a language that they will hear you, what just got better? Everything just got better, right? So we have to understand how to do that. So we come across this resource about 3 or 4 months ago. It's called I Said This, You Heard That. I said this, you heard that. Now if you're married, that makes perfect sense. You know exactly what that means. As I said this and you heard this by Kathleen Edelman. And what she's done is she's taken some personality, some temperament stuff, and put it into colors in a simple way and molded it to Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29, where we've got to know how we're speaking to each other. So there's a couple of resources for you. One is an app. And it is, if you go to the Apple store, you put You Said, this app will come up. It will look a lot like this right here. I said this. You heard that, the red, the yellow, the green, and the blue. On it are 6 videos. The videos are 20 to 30 minutes long. You've got to watch them. Okay, it will change the way you communicate at home. It will change the way you communicate at work. It will change things. It will help you understand who you are and why you do the things that you do. When I show up at the pool and I say, I'm not going to spend all day Saturday in there, I'm going to go out there, am I wrong? No. When my wife gets there and says, no way am I going outside when all the people are inside, is she wrong? No. But it's freeing to know that. It's freeing to understand why we're put together. So in this app, there's these sessions. It's Kathleen. She interviews 4 people. They're all wearing a color. And it's phenomenal. You got to watch it. Now, you can't just watch it. You got to start applying it. Also, she has a workbook called I Said This. You heard that. You can order it off Amazon. It's $19.99. Okay? Get this workbook. Okay, it's phenomenal. And the resources that are in here. On Wednesday, June the 19th, in this room from 6:30 to 8, I'm going to lead a seminar on this. And we're going to go more in depth to what we're talking about. But if you come to that seminar, you need to have watched the videos and you need to have one of these, okay? So follow through with this. And if you don't want to do that right now, maybe by the time we get to the end, you'll go, I think I might want to get the app. The app's free, by the way. So get the app, start listening, then you'll order the book, okay? That's just the way to work. I wrote down here that taking a little bit of a risk this morning, because if you don't follow through with the stuff that we're talking about, like the app and the books, then it's going to be kind of wasted time. And then I realized that's kind of silly. Every sermon is that way. If you don't follow through with it, then what's the point? All right. So here's this question. Why do the same words land differently for different people? Why do the same words land differently for different people? I can gather our staff together, and I can sit down as the lead of the staff, and I can, in my very Marty way, say, hey, guys, everybody, great job. And half of them are like, Marty's pleased. And the other half, what is wrong with Marty? He doesn't even care about what I'm doing. He doesn't think what I'm doing matters. He said the same words, but yet they fell differently. They were heard differently. Why? Well, the answer is temperaments. There are 4 temperaments. Now, temperament is not the same as personality, okay? If you use the word temperament and personality interchangeably, you're going to be confused. Just like in the kind of our journey our church has been on for the last couple of years, if you use the word spirit and soul interchangeably, you will get confused. Okay, when you understand what your spirit is and what your soul is, then the New Testament just opens up to you in a way that you've never seen before. Hence why you should go to Pure Heart if you haven't been. And if you use personality and temperament with the same, you're going to get personality is all kinds of things. A personality can be, first of all, your personality can be sinful. What do you mean, Marty? Okay, well, let's go back to the pool in Reno. And I get there and I just throw a fit. And I just am rude to everybody, and I'm rude to Lisa, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and I start disparaging everything, and Is that sinful? Absolutely. So my personality can be sinful. My personality can be aggressive. It can be abusive. It can be fear-based. It can be anger-based. It can be all kinds of things. My temperament, my personality is the what. My temperament is the why. The why I see the world the way that I see it. The way I receive the world is based on my temperament, not necessarily. So my personality comes out of my temperament. Okay, my personality doesn't drive my temperament. Your personality can be sinful, and this is really important. Can your temperament be sinful? No. Your temperament cannot be sinful. It is how you are designed. It's how you're wired. It's how you are wonderfully created. And so what I need to understand is when I begin to understand my temperament, then so many things in life begin to open up. So we got 4 words, sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, and melancholy that we'll put up here. I never can remember those words. I never can remember who goes with what, but I can remember colors. And I know what yellow, red, green, and blue. And one of the things that I really like about this is how she puts this in a very simple way. Now, you have to be careful. There's other personality things out there and other temperament out there that use colors. They may not be defining the words the same way. So it's really important that you understand how you define the words. So sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, and melancholy. Where do these words come from? This has been around for thousands of years. Back in Aristotle and Plato days and all of that, they would come up. And they used to believe that you were the way that you are based on the body fluids that you particularly had. And so now we know that that's got nothing to do with it. So this happened like 3,500 years ago. 2 guys standing under a palm tree. See Bartholomew over there? That's a weird cat. What is wrong with him? Now, Bartholomew's standing over under his palm tree with somebody, and he's saying, you see those 2 guys over there? They're the biggest jerks I've ever met. Like, what, what's going on? So this has been around for a really, really long time. So it's based off of those colors. So here's some things to try to help you understand so you can figure out what your color is. One of the reasons you'll want to get this, there's a little test in here. That will help you kind of confirm, because once you watch the videos, even when you walk away from this morning, you're probably going to have a pretty good idea what your color is, what your dominant color is. And let me say this as we move into this, not anybody is all one thing. You're going to have parts of each, but you're going to have a dominant one. And you need to understand the dominant one. So what does the word dominant mean? It wins most of the time, okay? So it's going to be your go-to thing. One of the things I tell people is when you take the test as if you're a billionaire. If you are a billionaire, by the way, we need to go have lunch. But just take the test as if you're a billionaire. Like money does not matter, okay? Because one of the things that will happen is your job or your responsibilities at home will begin to mask who you really are. So when you take the test, when you're really looking at it, you need to think, money's not an option. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I can't do that. If I started being that, then I'd lose my job. Okay, you just masked. You're not looking at who you really are. Okay, what your primary temperament is. So extroverts. Extroverts are on the top. Your yellows and the reds. And usually you have a dominant and a secondary, and they usually go yellow to red or yellow to green or green to blue or blue to red or red to blue. Rarely do they go yellow to blue or green to red. They can, but usually when that happens, you're doing some masking, okay, because they're so opposite. It's not impossible, but it's rare. Yellows and reds are extroverts. Now here's how she defines extroverts, and how a lot of people are beginning to define extrovert. An extrovert is someone who processes out loud. Extroverts talk before they think. They just say stuff. It's like, I need to talk it out. If you're I need to talk it out person, okay, if that's who you are, and you'll know that you need to talk it out. If you're a talk it out person, you're either yellow or red, okay? That's what an extrovert is. An extrovert is also someone who usually gets energy from people. And people liven you up a little bit. Green and blue are introverts. Now, an introvert is someone who processes inwardly. A yellow or a red hardly ever says, I need to think about it. Okay? A green and a blue hardly ever just blurt stuff out. We tend to process inside in an inward way of trying to figure out those kinds of things. Now, here's this other part that's super helpful. Yellow and greens are people-oriented. I think we have that slide. Yellow and greens are people-oriented. Now, this has been super helpful for me. I'm a green. I'm a high green. I have always seen myself as an introvert and a non-people person. And that's not true. because it didn't match with how I live my life, and it didn't match what God's chosen me to do. And I would tell people that I'm not a people person, and people would always say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see that. So this has been very helpful. So yellows and greens choose people over task. Reds and blues are task people. It's all about the task, okay? Sometimes people can become the task, okay, if they need the people to get things that they're done. But reds and blues, I'm not going to mention any names on staff, but Cheryl, John, and Josh are red and blue, okay? And they are all about tasks. Now, I won't mention any names on the other side, but the people, the yellows and the greens, David and Lori and Marty are people. And so this is what will happen. There are times, if the team is me, David, and Lori, first of all, not much is going to get done. All right? We're going to have a great time, but not much is going to get done. They only want to have fun, and I'm just saying, well, it'll all work out, okay? So that's going to happen. Now, you get Josh, John, and Cheryl together, and oh my goodness, things get built. It's like amazing what happens when that. Now, there may be some dead bodies along the way, but there'll be some things that get done, okay? So there's task-oriented people, and then there are people. And those two things, now that's one of the reasons why it doesn't usually work from a green to a red. And when you do that, it's usually masking because of work kind of situations, because it's people and task, and that's exhausting. Okay, so that's a difficult thing. So with this, you got the introvert and the extrovert. You got the people and the task from those kinds of things. So we're gonna look at three things to kind of put us into to help us kind of put this together. The first thing is this: your temperament determines the word you speak. Your temperament determines the words you speak. Okay, so how you communicate. Okay. One of the weaknesses for a green is a teaser, sarcastic. If you're around me very much, I am super sarcastic. And just ask Lisa, I drive her and my girls batty. It's like she just says, why do you keep doing that? It's like, I don't really know. It's fun. Your temperament determines the words you speak. So here's what the four colors say. Yellows are all about people and fun. The yellows want to have fun. Yellows say things like, is it going to be fun? Yellows ask questions like, who's going to be there? This is what yellows do. Yellows love people and fun. If you're a teenager and you take the colors, you all want to be yellow. And I'm just telling you, you're not all yellow. Okay? You're not all yellow. So stop doing that. But yellows are people and fun. If you're going to have a party, make sure some yellows are there. Okay, because that's what they are. Now, greens are all about calm and harmony. Let me tell you somewhere there was no calm and harmony. In that pool with all of those people and all of that noise, there was no calm, no harmony. Let me tell you where the calm and the harmony was. Under that tree and that grass, looking at the snow-covered mountains. There was a lot of calm and harmony there, okay? So, greens are calm and harmony. Reds are power and control. Don't be in charge. If they're not in charge, they're going to try to be in charge. If they're not in charge, they're going to let you know they need to be in charge. That's just what they do. They like power and control. They say things like, let me do it. Sometimes the simple thing they say is move. Just move. Get out of the way so I can get this done. That's what a red is. And if they don't want to do it, then they'll very easily tell you what to do. Like do this, and then do this, and then do this. Power and control. And then blues are perfection and order. Perfection and order. Let me think. I need to get this done. Is this safe? For some of you, you think there's only one way to fold a towel. There's lots of ways to fold a towel. And as a green, let me tell you how one way to fold it. Wad it up and put it in the drawer and shut the drawer. That is a way. It's clean. What difference does it make? And that drives my wife batty, because there is only one way to fold the towel, or load the dishwasher, or sweep the floor, or make the bed. Okay? So that's what a blue does. So your temperament determines the words you speak. So I tend, as a green, guess what kinds of words I usually speak? Calm, harmony. That's generally what it's power and control. Only if I have to, people and fun. Only if I have to, perfection and order. I don't even try. Okay? Your temperament. Yellows. Here, this is good. This is good. I always get ahead of myself here. Here's what yellows do. This is a good slide. Often speak with animated and people-oriented words. In a word, fun. People, animated, just yellows are great storytellers. Yellows can turn a 2-minute story into 30 minutes just like that. And they say this a lot. So anyway, which means everything they just said has nothing to do with about what you're talking about. Okay? So that's what a yellow is. Often speak with animated and people-centered words. It's all about fun. Reds often speak with bold, confident, controlling words. A red in a word is bossy. Bossy. Greens often speak with easygoing, patient, unenthusiastic words. So they can be seen, greens can be seen as lazy. Greens can be seen, I've been told this most of my life, that I'm apathetic. And it's not that I don't care, it's just that, no, I do care. I just don't know how to express it. And so it's just kind of there, just like it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. And the blue are detailed, judgmental, and thoughtful. So blues can tend to be mean because they're judgmental. What do you mean there's only one way to fold the towel? It's just a towel. So the word you say depends on your temperament. Now here's what's super important. Y'all going to have to give me like 10 extra minutes this morning, okay? Number 2, your temperament determines the words you need to hear. And this is crucial. Your temperament determines the words you need to hear. Here are the words that a yellow needs to hear: approval, acceptance, attention, affection. Approval, acceptance, attention, and affection. I have lived with a high yellow, been married to a high yellow for 30 years. Let me tell you what I have discovered about yellows. And this is I don't want this to be, I'm not trying to make this funny. You cannot correct a yellow. You can't. Try. It's impossible. Because when you try to correct a yellow, the world is ending. Their whole existence has come crumbling down because you have pointed out they didn't fold the towel right, or whatever it is. Their temperament determines the words you need to hear. A red, loyalty, sense of control, appreciation, credit for work. That's what reds need. Now, I got a couple of guys on staff. I didn't ask any of the staff permission to do any of this, but anyway. David is a yellow. Josh is a red. Now, I can walk by Josh and tap him on the shoulder and say, "Good job," and keep walking. I can walk by David and tap him on the shoulder and say, "Good job," and keep walking. Josh is thinking, "Awesome. I'm good for 3 months. David's like, what's wrong with Marty? What am I doing wrong? I don't understand. How can this be? I thought I did a good job. He just said I just did a good job. That's all he said. He didn't high-five me. He didn't hug me. He didn't put it on a bulletin board. He didn't do anything like it. There was no lights. I mean, I don't understand. There's no cake. I mean, there should be a cake. Where are the party hats? I mean, if I did a good job, this is what should... Right? Now, I'm not exaggerating. That's how it happens, okay? And this is the way it happens in your house, and this is the way it happens in your work as well. Because a yellow needs approval, acceptance, attention, and affection. Red needs loyalty, sense of control, appreciation, credit for work. Greens need harmony, worthiness, lack of stress, and respect. You come at me, I'm done. I'm done. You come at me with, Marty, I need you to do this, 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 and this. You give me 5 things to do, I'm not doing any of them. Nope. I'm staying right here on the couch. I'm not doing any of them. You come at me with 1 thing to do, I'll have it done in 10 minutes. Because I need to hear harmony, worthiness, lack of stress, and respect. Blues need safety, sensitivity, support, space, and silence. Safety, sensitivity, support, space, and silence. This has been so good for us as a staff. John, worship pastor John, is blue. And he needs safety, sensitivity, support, space, and silence. If I really want to help John, is to give him space and silence. Because he's in his head all the time. Because that's where blues live. They live in their head. And he needs the sensitivity, he needs the support, he needs to know the safety of what is going on. Now, none of those things make you a bad person. None of those things make you sinful. It's just who you are and how you've been put together. So the third thing is understanding the temperament changes every conversation. No temperament is better than the other. There are great red pastors, yellow pastors, green pastors, and blue pastors. There are great red architects, yellow architects, green architects, blue architects. That's just, now, some temperaments help in particular careers, okay? You kind of want your doctor to be a little bit blue, okay? Because perfectionism is one of the things that comes with the blue temperament. I want my doctor and my tax accountant to be blue. Okay? I want the cruise director to be yellow. Right? Okay, so greens make good pastors. Calm, harmony, even-keeled. So they do, but you're not limited. So no temperament is better than the other. Here, there also, you'll learn this if you watch the videos, the temperaments are equally divided among the population. It's 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. Isn't that amazing? No difference between gender. It's almost as if it was planned that way. The verse we read from Ephesians chapter 4, the first word is let. Let. So guess what that means? You have a choice. I have a choice. Every word that you use is a word that you choose. Every word that you use is a word that you choose. Now, if I need to speak to you like a yellow because you're yellow, then I need to know that you're yellow, so I got to know enough to recognize it. And then I got to know how to speak to you to be able to do that. This book is $20. It's worth, there's a couple of pages that are worth it. It tells you, for instance, in a yellow, it gives you phrases and things that you can say to build a yellow up. And then it says, caution, you may tear them down by. So let's just take a yellow. Listen to their stories, because they got stories. Make eye contact when they're talking. Be positive. Match their enthusiasm. Promote their creativity. What should we do next? You pick. Laugh with them. Show interest in their friends. Why do you have to show interest in a yellow's friends? Because I got a lot of them. Approving of them, you're so good at. Taking them seriously when needed. I can tell that you're upset. You have every right to feel that down. You want to crush a yellow, do things like this. I just want to get this over with. Oof. Shh, you're being too loud. The honest truth. In Costco, about 2 months ago, me and Amelia were over here. Lisa was in line. You want to know what my daughter said to Amelia? Amelia has no filter. Mom, you're being so loud. Because she is. But you crush them when you tell them to not be so loud. Stop, you're embarrassing me. This weekend we need to. I don't really like that. Not listening or giving them full attention. Not respecting their need for friends. Again, you're always going out with them. Don't say that. Requiring them to always be on. What's wrong with you? Why are you so serious? Cheer up. She does that for each color. It's so good. And if we can get to that point where you can understand this, there's a thing in there where she gives you the weaknesses and the strengths. And here's a great thing about the reds. When you read the strengths and the weaknesses of a red, the red reads all the strengths and go, yes, those are all strengths. And they read all the weaknesses and go, well, those aren't weaknesses. Because that's how a red thinks. Right? Because that's just where they're at. You turn over the green and list the strengths, and I agree with all of them. And then the weaknesses, yep, every one of those are a weakness. So here's what the staff says about me. Here's some of my strengths. Listens well, can recognize all sides of an issue, receptive to ideas, can work well alone. Here's some things that they don't think I do so well. They say I'm sarcastic, no sense of urgency, resents being pushed, and indecisive. Those are all green traits. Those are all things that happen with the green. So what I will say is if you will know your temperament, it will free you up to enjoy life and be more impactful. See how much we laughed today? Because we're laughing at ourselves and we're laughing at the people that are around us. And the more that we know that, did I say laughing at the people around us? See, I am a little sarcastic. Psalms 139:14, King David, that we're going to do a sermon series on, starting in a couple of weeks, by the way, the life of King David, says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Man, if we can know that. Learn the colors of the people you live with and work with. Your communication will go through the roof. And the last thing I would say is get the app, get the workbook. Come on Wednesday, June the 19th from 6:30 to 8. We'll live feed it as well, but we'd really like for you to be in there. You'll miss something if you're not in the room that night, by the way, because of some of the stuff that we'll be doing. But I hope that this is helpful to you. I want to whet your appetite for understanding this because we can look at a verse like that says to speak well to each other, but doesn't tell us how. This gives us a little bit of a how and how to do that. So let me pray, and then we'll be done. Father God, we thank you for this. I thank you for the fact that you give smart people ways to put together stuff that we can understand it. Father, thank you for not creating us all the same, because, man, how boring would that be? But you've created us to have diversity and created us to have strength and weaknesses. And I know one of the reasons you did that is because it forces us to need each other. So, Father, help us to know that. Help us to live freely in how you've made us to be and to use that for your glory and to celebrate those that are different from us. And may we all learn how to speak to who we're speaking with. In your name we pray. Amen.